Yeah, roll call, please.
President Setzer,
Here.
Vice President Davidson, Secretary Kincaid, present, Treasurer Hahn, Director Hector, Director Massime,
President, ready to do my bidding.
Director McGraw, Director Razwali, absent, Director Ricketts, absent. We do have a quorum.
All right, we're not making this a silent auction, Rick. You'll have plenty of time to bid there as we go along. Call the meeting to order. If you'd stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I set the pace. It does not have to be so slow to do this meeting and open forum. I do not see the signatures on open forum, so we'll move forward from there. Approval of the minutes from September 6th meeting draft. Without objection, we'll approve that as written. Any objections? Okay, very good. It is posted as written, and we'll change it if anybody brings anything to our attention. Let's start with our management reports, and we will begin with Rick Dodwell.
Good morning.
Morning.
Happy Friday.
Yes.
All Federation directors.
If I had a job, it would mean something to me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Every day is Friday to me.
Every day's a Friday. I tell you. And it's 5 o'clock somewhere?
It is.
Okay.
At the South Club.
South Club, that was what you meant in that advertisement there. All Federation directors presently sitting on this board are current owners. I verified it by the Hillsborough County records on October the 3rd. Financials are all being submitted by the 21st of the succeeding month. Many association treasurers, boards want conferences. They can do that with Debbie Lauber. This is the budget time of the year. I know everybody's into it. We're all into it. And we're the annual meetings schedules, all of the paperwork, which is your agendas, the association agendas and things. Those need to be turned back into your community association manager so that all final preparations can be made for the mailing of the first notice. So appreciate everyone's assistance on that. And regarding the budget, Ellen may speak more to that in your report, but it's November 15th. Don't lock that date on your refrigerator. November 15th, that's Friday. Membership meeting starts at 9:30, and then the presentation meeting is after that. The First Service Residential is working with the contract committee and Terminex in meeting the pest control services for the community and their performance. The action plan that is presented by Terminex should show results by the end of October. All right. OLM finished the inspection of the landscape sections 1, 2, 3, and 4, and sections 2 and 4 failed the inspection. Those cure period is up today, so those will be inspected today and the next working day to see if they've completed all of the items on the OLM report. Okay, so that's the process. We hold the 10% back, and until they finish and complete the cure, which has to be done in 7 days for the contract. The mulch program is underway. And it's the mulch program that's underway. It's mulch, guys. It's mulch, and we are going to continue. Mabel, that mulch puts a smile on her face, so that's a good thing, so that she can help document everything. And we appreciate. When I say we appreciate everybody's help, that's Mabel seconds that and thirds it and says yes. So one of my
Greg, you have beat up Ma Bell with mulch. So show her a little.
We buried her. We buried her.
Buried
Yeah,
her in
literally
mulch.
buried her in mulch. So she's going to put in her own work orders, by the way, into the work order system, Dave. Just so you know, there may be a few extra work orders because anyway. And that was part of our first call. Just so you know, we're supposed to put fun in our work, and so we sure try that. Mabel is doing that for us. But we really appreciate everybody's help in that. One of our managers did say that they just put into the Avid Exchange system 7 signed, approved, and delivered and installed mulch invoices. So the process is underway. Those online board approval boards will be getting those notices today, and that will continue. So that will be great for their cash flow. Let's see. Work orders, thanks to Mabel and Denny and every one of the POCs putting in these work orders. We had 97 work orders in August and 87 work orders in September. So slight downturn, which is good. That means the contractors still have our type of work orders. Section 3 has the most work orders. Section 2 has the least. Seem to be across the board the type of work orders that are coming in. Pruning and damage seem to be the highest type of work orders that are being put in out of the 87, and those will be followed up. Let's see, anything else? And we had 40 property transfers, applications, 38 leases. Slightly less, about 40 less than last year on property transfers from last year, and about similar, 40 or so less on leases. So similar pattern, everybody's getting back. We appreciate everybody, as you do get your first notice mailings, we do put in everyone's mailing a emergency information sheet. Please, if anything's changed, you can do it earlier, but that's your reminder to give your email, your phone number, any contact information that's changed in the last year since your last annual meeting, to give that to us so our database is complete. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First off, everything puts a smile on Mabel's face. There's medication for that, Mabel. It's okay.
She's on it.
That's right. That's it. And just one quick question, damages. When you listen to damages, type of work, you got pruning and damages. I think pruning's pretty obvious. Just wasn't pruned right according to somebody thought it wasn't pruned at all. Damages, what type of damages are we getting reports on?
Those can be broken windows. They can be curb, track damages. Dave, anything specific?
No, not on that, but I was going to say something in a minute here. The one thing you did bring up is over the course of the last 2 months, the work order process itself has gone for probably an average of 10 days for a response from the landscaper, and it looks like it's down to 5 days now. So just us looking over their shoulder, they realize that we are interested in having to do this on a timely basis. So, I mean, we are seeing great improvement in the turnaround time on the work orders.
The old adage, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. So you're doing that much better, and it's getting more information out to the people who need to be on top of things. So that's good. I would like to know, though, maybe since there is so many damages in that list, I'd like to kind of know what is being damaged, so we can address those issues possibly with the other vendors as well. I mean, they pay for it, it's okay, but I want to know what it is, just so we're aware of that. Great, thank you, Rick. Next on the agenda would be Ginger.
Thank you. I don't know if I can beat the stand-up comedy on mulch today, but we'll try.
I think that was mulch ado about nothing, don't worry.
Well, I won't go through and read all the numbers. The board has my report. You can see a number of graphs there. We've been asked, we kind of struggle with the size of them and what can actually be relevant. So I'll keep adjusting them, and I tried not to give you paper and fat old graphs, so it's a work in progress, but we'll keep striving to do that. The board's asked to see that. And spa, just a little update on the CA Spa Salon trial program. We're closing in. We got one more month, and we'll be pleased to report those year-end numbers. I'm confident the board will continue with it because it's been quite successful, but so far through September, we've totaled 287 clients over there, bringing in just under $16,500 in revenue. Let's see. Moving over to the budgeted projects in progress, I'll just name a couple of ones here. We've got the replacement tram delivery scheduled for mid-October. Over there, the tennis restroom refurbishment has been just almost completed. They still have to paint the outside of the facility. The tennis gazebo is being rebuilt. You may be aware the wood is rotted in some places, so that's being completed. Some roof work at the South Club completed. The pool and pickleball canopy shade structures, that's a replacement on those. 2020 center front entry sliding doors, they're out there today. Hopefully that will be completed and dried and ready to go for Monday. In the new lawn bowling green construction, it looks like their next phase here is the installation of the sod for the playing surface, and they're hoping to get folks out there playing in late October by November. Just to know, you might have noticed some of the parking lot and some traffic. The garage sale for the residents is this evening, and it will be conducted tomorrow. If you're not a garage sailor, you may want to avoid the area. There will be a lot of traffic up here tomorrow. So if you like that event, please attend and see what your neighbors don't want. And then we also have a business expo October 25th. That is, Lauren, that's sold out now, isn't it? That's a very popular event. So we love to give the local vendors opportunities to come in and show the residents of Kings Point what's available in the community. And as you mentioned, 5 o'clock somewhere, tickets go on sale on October 11th, and that will be held on October 20th. In our security, we issued over 11,300 passes at the gate. Those numbers always ramp up in season. Out of 49 incident reports in September, a couple here, we had a golf course maintenance employee call security at 6 a.m. regarding a lost and confused gentleman wandering on the golf course. Security dispatched an officer. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office came and they were able to locate his home and return him back. So just kudos to the golf course maintenance employee who kind of noted that he needed some help, and that helps be the eyes and ears out there and to notify security to come give this gentleman some assistance. A member of the archery club notified security of a car driving on the archery range during target practice. You can't make this stuff up.
There's extra points in that.
After locating the vehicle, security questioned the actions of the driver, and he said, well, he was just out there fishing. So note to self, maybe not the best idea to go fishing where arrows are whizzing by. We advised him of the error of his ways. And then just finally, this actually isn't in my report, but this was all going hot and heavy yesterday. We got a number of calls to the gate about solicitors in the community. A company named Window Depot. By the time I got out to the guard gate, we already had a number of patrols out there. They had found 2 wandering, knocking door to door while we were there. When we investigated it, all of these calls had been called in by residents. They had actually said they had told one of the residents they were an approved vendor. Window Depot actually is not, but they were all called in by vendors. In fact, some residents called them in multiple times, I guess because they're working on their windows. And I told Ryan, well, while I was standing there at the gate going through the database, a car pulls up and says, hi, I'm Window Depot, I'm here to see a resident. It's like, huh? I mean, like right there it happened. So we looked in the database. The resident in Brookfield had not called them in. we called the resident in Brookfield, hey, Window Depot says they have an appointment to see you. She said, oh, yeah, I forgot to call him in. Send him in. We're like, you sure you want to send him in? Yeah, send him in. He's coming to my house. Nothing we can do about that. Residents are free to call in who they want. So we appreciate, however, that the residents are calling us to let us know when they start wandering and knocking door to door, because they're not supposed to do that. And we've informed them of that. But as far as the call-ins, again, those are legit. The guards have to let them in. And that's the drama I have for today.
Very good, very good. And that's just a point.
Just one quick question. That individual wandering around the golf course, what day was that? The only reason I asked is we had someone in our community that was ringing the doorbell at 3 o'clock in the morning and just kept ringing the doorbell. I was wondering if it was the same one. My incident occurred last Sunday.
I'll find out, and I'll send you an email. If it was the same day, you can let me know.
Thank you.
We probably should put a PSA together and just remind everybody that when you call a vendor in, there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, we need services and we need work, but you may want to make sure you tell your vendor, not that you can stop a salesperson from doing what salespeople do. Once they get in, they can do their thing, but we should remind them. I try to remind all my vendors, you can't dump your garbage and stuff in the dumpsters. You got to take it out. I try to make sure that they can't go around talking to any of the neighbors while they're in here. They're working just for my stuff, and that's it. So I try to remind them that it seems to be working, but we need to make sure we remind everybody that you have the right to let them in, but you do have somewhat of an obligation to kind of inform them of how our community works and make sure they do the right thing. So just kind of keep that in mind moving forward. Next on the agenda would be committee reports. Let's just start that into the table. Dan, do you have anything to report from your activities?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report, okay? From the legal side. You're good with KPCPC. You look like you want to say something, Dave.
I do.
It's landscaping. You got to say something, right?
At the last OLM meeting, one of the new procedures we instituted was a quantity review of the contractors. In the past, we've had OLM come to look at quality, how the work is being performed, but we've also added a 50% part of it now is, are you performing, trimming 100%, edging 100%, and we're actually now grading them on contract-related issues. There was a little confusion with the contractors at the beginning of the meeting, but I think by the time that we were done explaining what we were doing and holding them accountable, they understood where we were coming from, and I think it was a very productive meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Next up on the agenda will be contractors committee.
An issue has arisen within the community that the contract committee and the board has been working on for about 3 months. And Ryan received an email specific to some concern within the community. So in the matter of transparency, the board would like to clarify that yes, we are looking at the refinancing of our loan in 2017. We are looking at it specifically to how the $7.8 million was calculated. We have been working with Vesta very closely and with Dan Armstrong. There is no accusation being made by the board either to any of the residents who worked on this or Vesta that anything was wrong. We are just trying to ascertain the correctness of the $7.8 million and understand how it was calculated. So if you hear rumors to any other facts, that's exactly what they are. They are rumors. Your board is putting in considerable amount of time and have had numerous meetings on this issue. So understand, the only thing the board, which is our fiduciary responsibility when an issue is raised to us, is to investigate that. The question on the 7.8 million has been raised. We are looking into it to totally understand how that 7.8 million was calculated. And we have reached out to the previous president and treasurer and to individuals within Vesta, and we are still working on that. Once we have that information, a presentation will be given and a public service announcement will also be put out on our findings. And that is basically the one issue.
Anything else? Good, okay, all right, very good, excellent. We're now, right? Finance committee, any reports on that? Reports on the treasurer?
Nothing really to
No treasurer.
Yeah, that's right. And the finance committee has been working on a number of things, and you'll see the motion, and we'll be continuing to work on.
Can't hear you.
The finance committee will continue to be working on the verbiage and how things are presented to the associations on their November 15th amounts.
Okay, very good. Should be some excellent.
All right, that takes me to the president's report. No real report today. We got everything covered by the committees. Actually, I just want to kind of look at the word oversight. I think we need to kind of remember who we are and what we do. Since we're going to be doing a new committee today, I want to make sure that we kind of review that our board is an oversight board. What does oversight actually mean? There's 3 definitions on Google Dictionary. One is the omission or error due to carelessness. We don't want to do that. Unintentional failure to notice or consider something, lack of proper attention. We certainly don't want to do that. Well, our responsibility is supervision. It's watchful care. And I think we are doing that. While we don't control or oversee day-to-day activities, we do oversee the results, and we look for the ways to improve those results. That is our responsibility as a board. What should oversight be based on? Knowledge, understanding of law, rules, procedures, and best practices that we're doing. And I think we are moving in that direction with all of our activities. What should oversight not be based on? And this is kind of an important issue. It shouldn't be based on fear, paranoia, lack of understanding, personality differences, personal agendas, politicking, propaganda, unresolved anger, or perceived power grabs. Let me tell you real quick. Anybody think there's power up here or on any of these boards technically? They're kind of misunderstanding what we do. There's more power on the street where I own stuff than there is here. This is not a powerful position. This is a position of working together with others to make things happen and get things done. And I'm going to commit to everybody just to make that continue to go and not rule on pettiness, for God's sakes. So, oversight means we review, we evaluate, we analyze, we ask questions, we review procedures, we inspect operations. Most importantly, we review, we report, and we make decisions based on results. And kind of where we don't make accusations, we're not insulting, we don't be part of the problem by focusing on a person and failing to review the process or procedure that may be failing. And in many cases, we continue to do the same old thing because we're comfortable. And one of the sayings that I've had for years is, comfort is the arch enemy of success. The more comfortable you are, the more you're going to fail. You've got to keep the edge. You've got to keep looking. You've got to keep digging. And I think we're doing that. I think as Rick Massamay said the other day at one of our conversations, that since kind of this board's been together, that we've been looking at things and doing things in quite a different way. I think our vendors can say that we're putting pressure on them to step up and do things and change maybe some procedures that are out there, and that's a good thing. But we're going to keep doing that. I would suggest that everybody in the upcoming elections for both the Master and the Federation, we're starting to get in that part of the year, cast your vote intelligently. Cast your vote by asking, what do you know, what do you do, and what can you bring to the table? As Rick Massamay said when we were looking for members of his committee, I appreciate you wanting to be part of something, but what do you bring to that something you want to be part of is really something we all should be analyzing. And so that's kind of where I think we are. I'm just trying to, part of my job is to make sure we're answering questions and things that come up in conversations. We talked about Terminex, we talked about the the discussion we're having relative to the loan calculations. I think we're moving in a good direction to try and keep everything out there. Is everything going to be public knowledge the moment it happens? No, that's just not the way boards work. There are some things we have to make sure evidence is there, information is collected and gathered, it's all summarized and put together, and then we can report it to the necessary people at that moment. So, thank everybody for the cooperation. I think this has been a good, at least a year for me as the president last term and this term, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But thank you for all your efforts and continued work. So, moving on in our agenda, there is no unfinished business. That takes us down to the new business. We have some acceptance of some issues. Dan, are you going to make the motion to accept the audit?
Yes. As co-chair of the Finance Committee, we looked at the audit of this year's operations of the Land Trust Management Operation Company. The Kings Point entered into an agreement with Sun City Finance LLC as a mortgage. As part of that mortgage, we were required to create the Kings Point Sun City Center Land Trust, which holds the recreational facilities which we purchased. And that also as a part of that land trust and the mortgage agreement, we are required to hire a management company to oversee operations and care of those recreational facilities. That company is Vesta. On an annual basis, their expenditures and operations of the recreational facilities is looked at by a CPA firm, which does an audit on all of their activities and reports back to the board on their thoughts on those activities and whether they are lawful and correct. They started that process in July, went through most of July. They came in, look at the records, get physical evidence, and then they form an opinion, they write an opinion, and then the board has a meeting with them and discusses it. There were a number of items that the board this year, who has former auditors and accountants on it, asked some questions that were difficult for the auditors to answer. There was back and forth a couple of times. There were a few items that were changed around in the audit, but nothing of substance. We didn't really find any errors. It's just the way they were presented. Those adjustments were made, and at this point in time, I have to do the legal. I move that the Federation Board of Directors accept the King Point Sun City Center West Land Trust Annual Year-End Audit Report dated September 20th, 2019, as presented by the auditing firm of Axel CPA to the Kings Point Board of Directors and RFEC on July 25th, 2019.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion in addition to Dan's discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dan. All right, that takes us to the next budget to approve. Will be the recreational facility budget. And I believe, Dan, you've got that one also. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Dan, I'm going to ask you to do a little rehearsal of it. Do your motion first, then we'll do your discussion. Okay?
Sure.
Got that? Do the motion first, then we'll do the discussion. Just stay in proper order at that point.
Well, it was proper. I was giving appropriate information for the
You
record.
gave very appropriate
prior to
information.
the,
You get very appropriate
So
information.
now, well,
Okay, hey, Dan, threw you off. Go ahead and do your
it's just
discussion, then we'll do the motion. How about that?
well, the way things are functioning, the motion is predicated on authority, and I had intended to read the authority prior to the motion.
There you go. I got you. There you go. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so For formal purposes, documents wherein the authority of the Federation Board to approve the trust budget lies in the vesting of the power of the Federation to approve the annual budget of the trust, and the power to approve the annual budget reserve is contained in the Kings Point Sun City Center West Land Trust Agreement predicated on the mortgage which was previously discussed. The obligation to operate and maintain Kings Point projects is a condition and repair at least as good as it currently exists is described in the amended and restated loan agreement, the mortgage. Obligation to prepare and deliver a comprehensive budget to the trust prior to September 30 of each year, as well as a reserve schedule that is adequate in the opinion of the trust and the Federation Board to replace components of the King Point facilities in accordance with their useful lives is defined in the Kings Point Facilities Management Agreement, and then the Recreational Facilities Executive Committee Perpetual Oversight Committee Structure and Charge Document as approved by the Federation Board on August 3rd, 2018. It confirms charge to the RFTC members to review the annual budget prior to the Federation Board approval, and therefore I make a motion that the Federation Board approve the 2020 and 2021 trust budget package for inclusion in the Kings Point Community Budget Key.
Second.
Could you reread your motion?
I make a motion that the Federation Board approve the 2020 and 2021 trust budget package for inclusion in the Kings Point Community Budget Key. I know what you're getting at.
Right there on your left.
No. And this motion also looks at considering the scope and forgot the word.
Do you want me to take the motion as it was presented?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I have a couple of changes to it, so I'm going to read it with changes put in. I move the Federation Board of Directors approve the 2021 Kings Point Sun City Center West Land Trust Recreational Facilities, Transportation, Gate Security Services Assessment Budget as recommended to the Federation by the Recreational Facilities Committee, the RFEC, as amended by the Board, and for maintaining the recreational facilities, transportation, and gate fees based upon review of scope and bid for each project listed within the budget by the Federation Board.
Do we have a
What he
second?
said.
What he said, thank you. Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay, before we leave this topic, Dan, I don't know if you want to talk to what we have done with the recreational budget, because Brian didn't ask for any discussion. I thought maybe you would like to at least review what the Federation Board has done with that budget and the good news that came out of that budget.
I have much discussion. And let me start by saying that Kings Point budget traditionally is calculated 6 to 8 months prior to its enactment. So that makes it fairly difficult to get reasonably accurate numbers. In the past, the budget's been driven by formula and history, and that's okay in terms of a budget for a budget's sake. However, in Kings Point, when you get to that final budget number, there's an assessment that goes to all of the owners in here. And when that assessment is rightfully set at a place which will guarantee that there are no problems with the budget, over time, with the reality of the budget, there's two sections to the budget. There's the operating section, and there's the capital improvement section. And over time, as you collect those dollars from the residents, we don't always spend all of the money in the budget. It gets carried forward. So what we end up doing is accumulating a lot of cash that's excess to our needs. And then secondly, with the operation budget, you know pretty much what it's going to cost to buy floor wax. You know pretty much what it's going to cost to clean the windows. You have 111 people who work for Vesta, and that's fairly predictable, except that you have turnover every year, and if you have a budget of, we'll just say, $1 million, and you have 10% turnover, and you only spend $900,000, there's $100,000 in cash that's excess to your need in that particular year, and that then gets rolled over into the next year. So what this board has done is take a little different approach to it. I'm a huge fan of zero-based budgeting. If we don't have to spend a penny, I don't think we should spend a penny. And more than that, I don't think that the residents should be charged the penny whether it gets spent or not. So what we did is we worked very carefully as a board with the RFEC and with Vesta, and I have to tell you all that Vesta did an outstanding job of getting all the information that we needed and everything that we asked for to determine true costs for this past year, or an anticipated cost for the next year. We looked at every line of every activity that goes on with the expense and maintenance of the recreational facilities and the operations associated with that. And we determined what true cost in the current year is, what we anticipate the true cost for the next year will be. We also then looked at the improvement side, the capital improvements. There is a book that's generated every 3 years. It's called the Reserve Study. And what it does is there's a company that comes into Kings Point, looks at all of our buildings, all of our land, all of the activities and property items that go on with that, and they determine the life of the product, building these tables, these chairs, when they're going to run out, when they need to be replaced, and they try to approximate the cost of what it's going to take to replace those. So every year in that reserve study, the budget is built, and in the past, they've gone to that reserve study and said, oh, we need a new pool heater. The reserve study says it's going to cost $130,000, and that's what got put in the budget. Now, we may have only spent $70,000 for the pool heater, or maybe we didn't replace it at all in that particular year. But you were charged for that in your assessment. This year, we looked very closely at those types of things as we went through the reserve study and said, what is it that we really need to do for next year, and how much is it going to cost based on what we think the reality is. Now, we can't get true quotes because we're 6-8 months away from, well, up to possibly 18 months away, depending on when we buy it through next year. If we didn't buy it until October of next year, we got 12 months away. So it's real hard to get accurate pricing. But we can get reasonably close, a lot closer than what the reserve study said, by going through these things. For instance, we determined that next year, we don't have to replace one of the trams. Doesn't have that many miles on it, maintenance is good. That saved us $60,000 right there. So in looking at things of that nature, we're still going to spend $729,000 on things that need to be taken care of to operate Kings Point for capital replacements, and we're still gonna spend, well, $13 million in the operations of all of this stuff. But in looking at it and going through it, we didn't, when we went to the zero-based budgeting process, we also said there's not going to be any budget carry forwards. If it doesn't get spent in this current year, at the end of the year, that money's gone. They're not gonna put it into the next year's budget and let it sit there and use it. The budget is the budget based on what we said it's gonna be next year based on the items that we approved. So, we didn't have any expectations of what that was gonna come out. If it costs us more, it costs us more. If it costs us less, then yay for us. After everybody's really hard work, we have determined that there is going to be a 7.5% savings in next year's budget over this year's budget. That 7.5% savings turns into $11.87 per household that we will not be charging. That's $11 further, yeah, thank you, but further, that $11.87 turns into $142.44 per year per household that we will not be charging. Which means that with the 5,525 units we have here, we will not be charging the community $786,981 in next year's recreational budget. And that's not to say that next year it won't go up. You know, there are two theories of budgeting. One is charge them the same every year, so everything's consistent. They know what they're looking at, and you know, it costs us what it costs, and people don't get mad at you. I'm not of that ilk, and the board is not of that ilk. If we can save you 10 cents, we're going to do it. There's a 10% turnover in Kings Point historically, so 10% of the people who are here this year will not be here next year. So why should they pay for something that they're not going to be here for? So that's where we're at with this. And again, you know, next year we will go through this process again, a line at a time. And we may have to spend more money in rehabbing items or improving items that are on that list next year. So I'm not making any promises that it won't go up $11 next year. But for this year and for now, you're saving that money, and we feel pretty proud of the fact that we can do that for you. That's all I have to say on that.
Very good, thank you. Just so the folks in the audience know, we had a number of meetings on this budget, spent considerable time with Ginger and Vesta in reviewing line by line the projects, and whether they were replacement projects or new projects. We worked very diligently, and I appreciate Ginger's knowledge and capability. This being my first time in going through the Vesta budget, it's a very big learning process, and I think Dan will agree with that. And unfortunately, Noreen's not here, so she couldn't agree, but I will tell you, when we came down to the final figure and looked at what the budget is and what the reserves are within the budget, we were amazed at the $11 per unit per month savings. And I would like to thank Ginger for working with us and understanding at times the questions we asked and the digging we did on individual items within that budget, because we did question a lot on that budget. And thank you for working with the board so well once that was referred to us over by the RFEC, and I'd like to thank the RFEC for the work they did with you.
Yes, absolutely. New mindset in terms of the way we're looking at things moving forward. And as Dan said, we'll evaluate it as we go forward. It's a lot like the landscaping, breaking into 4 districts. We're now doing measurements on that to see how that worked out compared to other things. So we are measuring and analyzing, and we're looking to see what's working, what's not, and we'll make alterations as we go. We'll keep everybody informed, and thank you guys for your hard work on that particular issue. I will also send out just a message to the associations. This freed up some cash for the associations. Any associations got issues with reserves, don't kick the can down the road. Don't save your pennies this year and cost you dollars and much dollars down the road. Get your reserves in shape. There are some communities out there that need to do it. This is an opportunity to reach in to your treasury and say, hey, let's make our reserves sharp, strong, and be financially sound, not only for today, but also moving down the road for people who will be here in 10 years that haven't had the opportunity to use that and don't want to get stuck with the assessments or things like that. So we got a lot to look at when it comes to dollars and cents.
Remember that we did new landscaping contracts that may impact the association's budget this year, plus the masters working on their budget, which may affect your total dollars this year. So any increases that may occur in those areas hopefully can be offset by the work that we have done with Vesta. So the community's rates don't keep going up and up and up, but at least we did, I believe, a good job in protecting the fiduciary responsibility of each association and reviewing our budget.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. President, if there's no more conversation, I call the question.
It's already called. We've already passed it. We did this in reverse, but I call the question. Would be all those in favor after that discussion? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're good. There we go, that's right, 2 approvals. 2 approvals in 1. All right, very good. We'll try to get this next one actually on track and within the proper procedure. We'll do the next motion, which is the approval for the 2021 Federation budget, and that's going to be Alan Hahn.
Thank you, Ryan. Yes, so for the operating budget, I move that the Federation Board of Directors adopt the proposed 2020-21 Federation operating budget of $2.29 per unit per month for a total of $151,700 and recommend it to the membership for their approval at the Federation's special membership meeting and annual association budget review meeting, which is scheduled for November 15th, 2019.
Have a second? Second. Discussion, Alan?
Yes, thank you. Yes, the Federation had worked on the land trust budget, which we just approved. Also, the bulk contracts are in place and will be renewed, and you'll see those on your association budgets, the new amounts for that. So this is the operating budget, the administrative items. You will see this whole thing because you'll need to, the membership will need to approve this. But let me just highlight a couple things. We've added a few things and subtracted a few things. Just a couple of the major items, we did increase the professional service fund by quite a bit, anticipating, again, legal expenses for various things, for contract renewals that'll come up, as well as for, again, our ongoing discussion of having a second chance, okay? Now that the developer's gone and we've got 2 boards, Federation Master, what's the best way to organize for us here in Kings Point? So as we're looking at that, we need some legal expenses in that budget line item. Fortunately, we did increase the insurance deductible fund previously and have, though, recently had great experience. We've had a few claims, and they will happen. Water breakages in water pipes causing some damage. Fires sometimes happen. But the claims have been down significantly, so much that we don't need to include anything to increase our insurance deductible fund for this new budget. So quite a bit of savings in that area. So, so again, we have worked it, so there is a savings. Last year, we budgeted $3.01. This year, it'll be $2.29, 72-cent per unit per month reduction. It comes out to $8.64 per year for each unit owner. So that's pretty much it.
Very good, thank you. Any other discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, that takes us to the motion part of this. Goes to our next new business is the announcement regarding the Health and Safety Oversight Committee. This is a committee I put together to be my helpful eyes on things that happen, primarily recreational, the restaurants, the cafes, all the area for safety and health, just extra eyes. It's chaired by Noreen Ricketts and co-chaired by, or assisted with the director, Frank Raswali. We've got a specific charge for it. I am looking for, and I'm going to be making a formal broadcast request for other people who'd like to be involved in this. Again, I like people that have a background in that type of operations, so they're looking at things that they understand and think about. You know, people's perspectives and opinions aren't necessarily statute and law. So we need to make sure we're all on the same page. Plus, we're going to work with Ginger and Rudy to help bring that committee into understanding what best practices are, what we do, how it works, and make sure that we're on track with it. So you'll see that announcement going out, and please put your applications in, going to the kpscc.com Federation website or Federation post where you can get your application to be part of that committee if you'd like to join in. At this point, that takes us down to good and welfare. Any good and welfare announcements in the room? Well, Forrest, come on down. You're the next good and welfare contestant.
Roll on down.
There we go.
Have a few announcements for today. The COA Shredding Day is Thursday, November 21st at 9 a.m. to 12 noon. It'll be at the outdoor poolside North Clubhouse in the parking lot center section. Today, October 4th at 5 p.m. is the deadline for any unit owner to submit their candidate nomination form to run for the Master Association Board of Directors. There will be one opening for a 3-year term. You can turn your form into the first service office. Monday, October 7th at 9 a.m. in the 2020 building, Forum Room, the Standing Election Committee for the Master Association will be validating all candidate nomination forms submitted to run for the Master Board. COA will be sending out to all validated candidates an invitation to be part of the Meet the Candidates Forum on Friday, October 11th in the North Clubhouse Banquet Room starting at 2 p.m. And as always, the refreshments will be served at Meet the Candidates function and includes pastries from Marino Bakery and coffee compliments of the Kings Point COA. That's it.
Mr. President, can I just add on to Forrest with Shredding Day? If you recall last year, there was a long line, and it's over in the 2020 lot, and that's a very busy morning for people going to the fitness center classes. Please be patient, folks. We will have a number of guards out there helping funnel people if you're going to park for class or going to Shredding Day, but it is very saturated out here. So we'll help out the best we can, but be patient, please.
In your process of that, if I could add, there was because of the line of traffic going in, it basically was impossible to get to the North Clubhouse. You had lines of traffic on the road in front of the North Clubhouse, you had lines of traffic going to the parking lot. Is there a possibility that the traffic could be set up to be routed through the parking lot itself and not down the main road?
Right, I think that's part of what they're looking at doing for people going over there versus people going to the clubhouses. So they'll do their best, and we'll get through it. It's a popular morning, and also you're open, you said 9 to 12, right? Everybody comes at 9 o'clock, so maybe space it out a little bit. It might help a little bit, so it's not just, you know, storming the palace at 9 a.m. to shred.
What day again?
November 21st.
No,
November 21st, Thursday, and that's a Thursday, 9 to noon.
Thank you, Forrest. Forrest, that vehicle needs a backup signal.
That's why I'm not coming forward.
Thank you, thank you. I want to make sure we warned Mike there, you're coming back. Can you do emergency rescue service on yourself, Mike? That's the true question.
We're not going to try and find out.
Oh, thank you.
Here to talk to you about the symposium. It's coming up on October 22nd and the 29th. The 22nd is going to be held in the Veterans Theater. On the 29th, it will be held in the CA. If you can't, and you have a doctor's appointment, which many people in the room probably do, then you can go to the 29th. It doesn't matter which one you go to, the CA, come here, because we want people to get the news. This is about your health. This is about extending the quality of life. There is a phone number that you have to call in order to make a reservation for the spot. The reason you have to call, we're going to provide you lunch. And they got to know how many to prepare for. And I'm sure you'd be discontented if you got there and there was no lunch for you. So we want to make sure that everybody has it. That number is 888-685-1595. And it will send you to a prompt. If you hit 3, that will bring you a live person and you won't be leaving a message. And then they will sign you up for that event. This one is a little different because we don't have Tampa General. We have South Bay Hospital and HCA that's going to do it. They're going to bring local doctors from around here that are going to present to you a lot of things. It's going to be on aches and pains. I know nobody in the room has any of those. So it will be a good opportunity for you to get there. Going to field some of the questions you may not think about asking your doctor, but it also may prompt some things that you do want to take and ask your doctor. Again, lunch is going to be provided. We'd like as many people to attend as possible. This is free to you. Yes, ma'am.
Repeat the phone number?
It's 888-685-1595.
What time?
It's going to be, the doors are going to open at 12:15. And then you'll go in, and it's going to be over by 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, you're going to be walking out the door because I have mandated that, and that's a standard. I don't want anybody to be late for happy hour. So, you know, we know that's part of the curriculum. So that's something we want to do, and you can spend a lot of time talking about some issues. If you're bulleted and you keep your message short, sometimes that's better. The date is going to be the 22nd in Veterans Theater. The 29th is going to be at the CA building on South Pebble. I do have a number of these sheets here that I'm going to leave. If you want to, you can pick one up. It will tell you about what it's going to be. It doesn't tell you the doctors. There's another sheet that's out for that. I didn't bring that one. So, and I think that's just about it. Thank you very much.
Mike, I have one question. My pain is Rick Massame. Can I send him to the thing and take care of my pain and aches?
I can refer you to a priest.
Oh, okay. Well, we got a referral. That'd be good. Thank you, Mike. All right. Any other good and welfare? At that point, I make motion that we adjourn this meeting. All those in favor? Go retire.